Wait. Okay, we're talking about that then. What? Hey, Syd.
Hey, Dad.
What's going on?
Are we in a fight right now?
Oh, I couldn't possibly. I'm just being and doing. I'm zen. Wait, do you feel like we're in a fight right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's set the stage. So
I don't remember what it was about.
Oh, I don't think there is one because I was like here just hanging out. That's what I was doing. You know, I'm here just finishing up a nice therapy day, and in comes Syd, and you got here right on time, right?
Sorry about that one.
Okay, well, I think then this is funny because I think this is maybe projection. Because you came in a little bit frazzled. Is that safe to say? Mm-hmm. Right on time. Right?
You sound passive-aggressive.
Okay. Tell me more about that. What if I'm just sounding super cool, but you're a little bit frustrated?
Okay.
Could that be a thing?
We are in a fight right now, you guys. It's crazy. Our first fight caught live on camera. Okay. Stay tuned. How's it going to end?
Okay.
A fight? A physical fight?
So you're trying to push my buttons so that I'll react? Because then you can say, see, old man?
No,
you know?
I'm just messing with you.
I know. Yeah, I am doing good. But I do think it's kind of funny because I think that's where I asked you a question. What did I even say? Oh, you said you were going to do your hair right now. And I said, is that a thing? And you said, yeah, Dad, people do things. So who is fighting with whom?
Neither of us are fighting, I don't think.
No, we're not at all. Yeah. What I meant by that was, and I was doing the old man thing of like, is this the thing where like you put your makeup on while you're doing a video and like that kind of thing? Not like you, but somebody in general. I think that. Like I don't know, I'm peeling potatoes or something while we're doing this. Mm-hmm.
I'm so... Next
topic. Okay.
Let's get into these
Where
questions.
are we going tonight? Where are we going? We got some questions about complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We have that. I had somebody ask a question, and this is one where I would just love your opinion to start off with. Saying versus doing. Do you put more trust in what people do more than they say?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I feel like actions... Well, I don't know. I'm like dyslexic right now. I don't know if I just said yes to the right thing. But I do feel like actions speak way, way louder than words.
Okay. And have you always felt that way? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, this is where I often say that when people say something, they may mean it in that very moment. And so they might even say, no, I can understand and you can trust me and I'll follow through on what I say. And in that moment, well, that feels good. So they get out of their discomfort. But then if they don't do it, yeah.
People just say what you want them to hear. Wait, what they want you to hear? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
They'll
for sure.
just say what they want you to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like it's a lot more telling if someone like shows their love or support for you.
Yeah. I've been talking a lot about emotional consistency. And I had a men's group tonight, and then somebody was saying, okay, but what does that even mean or look like? And I was talking about where if it sounds like it's super complicated, but if you say you're going to do something, then you do it. Like, and that's being consistent because it's what you say. And I just gave an example of where one of the people in the group talked about that he said, I'm going to do something every day for my wife to show her how much I care. And in that moment, he meant it. But then about day 3, then he kind of got busy, he forgot to do it. But she needs to understand he's busy. So then he wasn't consistent with it, emotionally consistent. Mm-hmm. And so then I think that's one of those where his actions did not back up his words. Mm-hmm. So then he was angry because now he was saying she didn't understand that he meant to, but he had a lot going on.
Yeah, and that's not okay. But at the same time, I think intention is important. So it's like even if like I could say I'm going to do something and then I will forget it and I won't do it, but it's not with bad intention. You know what I mean? I was gonna go back to our beef. Our beef.
like hypothetically, if you said, "Oh, our live is at 7:35. I'm gonna get here at 7, so we can like set things up, that kind of thing, right?"
I'm trying.
I know you did.
I had to go grocery shopping today.
Oh.
It was 5 hours ago, but it was crazy, excruciatingly hard trip. No,
you did? Yeah, you did. Okay.
I used a coupon, though.
How many coupons? Is it coupon or
1.
coupon?
I have no idea. I saved a ladybug from inside of Target because I was literally, while I was peeing, there was a ladybug that walked under the stall. And so I had to pick it up and save it, but then I know that I looked actually psycho and insane.
Saving the ladybug?
Yeah, because I couldn't wash my hands because I had a ladybug on my hand. And then I was walking through the Target are you okay? Because it looked like he was about to die. I literally don't know how we started talking about that.
Okay.
Anyways, do you guys need therapy?
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. This is my daughter, Sydney. And here we go. Jara Known, thank you both for doing these live streams. Always very helpful and insightful. Thank you. We're excited to be doing this tonight.
Helping the people, as you can see.
Helping the people. Okay.
Someone said they killed a ladybug today. That's crazy. I also had a thought that what if all the bad people get reincarnated as bugs? So what if I literally like saved Jeffrey Dahmer in that ladybug? You know what I mean?
I mean, I hear you. I do. And this is interesting. There's a book today that I was reading with a client. I'm going to pull it up behind. And this will be interesting. There's a book called The Buddha Walks into a Bar. And it's modern day. So it's like a guide to, in essence, modern day applications of Buddhism. Do you know these tenets of Buddhism? There's one here that I think is really interesting. And it talks about...
I like Buddhism, I'm pretty sure.
So I think, so tell me if you like this. Okay, the 5 precepts are, and this is why I'm talking about it, because ladybugs will come into play here in a second.
Sick.
The 5 precepts are not taking the life of sentient beings.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what a sentient being is? I did not.
That ladybug?
Well, yeah,
right?
Okay.
Technically?
So, this is what, I think this stuff is so fascinating. So then if you look up sentient being, there's even debate over what a sentient being is. So a sentient being is one who perceives and responds to sensations of whatever kind, sight, hearing, touch, and smell. And so then there's even controversy of, it means that has the capacity to have feelings. And then I would go down this rabbit hole.
How do we know if they have feelings?
I wondered the same thing. And then there's one where it's like they have to have a central nervous system. And when you look at some things like starfish and those kind of things, they don't have a central nervous system, but they have nerves. So then some argue, well, they're not sentient beings. And so I just think, man, we can argue about a lot of things that seem a little bit silly. So anyway, ladybugs, huh? So those would be sentient beings.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be good luck. So I'm like, how am I supposed to like be like, ooh, good luck today, and then just stomp on it? Like, that's so messed up. So I had to save his life.
Yeah. So well done.
Thank you.
You saved a sentient being.
I do with my best
So
out here.
you upheld the first precept of Buddhism, not taking the life, just for fun. And then we'll get to the questions. But the second is not. I think this is not taking what is offered.
Wait, why not?
I don't know. But here, so take this used tissue.
Ew, why?
It's the second.
That got in your hand so fast. Where did I even
I know, it's right there. But I think that was kind of interesting, though. Okay, and then the third one.
Well, does it elaborate on
No.
that?
And that's
right.
okay. And this is the concept where when we talk about differentiation, everything is an opportunity to grow. A lot of people believe that in spirituality, whether it's the scriptures like Christian scriptures, Bible, or it's these tenets or precepts of Buddhism, that they're all there as something that then it allows you to then learn yourself better. So then it's like, what does that mean to you? Not taking what is offered. Does it mean you have to take my dirty tissue? Like that one, I don't really know. I'm not really sure. Like I get the don't take the life as a sentient being, but then you can see that people even argue what's a sentient being. The third one, not engaging in sexual misconduct. Oh, why I'm not going to get banned with that one, right?
It's okay.
Okay, and then the next one is not using mindless speech. So we might have already been guilty of that.
Oh, I do that constantly.
It says slander.
I don't know if I'm
gossip,
a Buddhist
lying,
anymore.
idle speech, and then the last one is not ingesting intoxicants.
Oh, yeah, I failed that one also as well right now.
Okay, so anyway, I thought that was kind of fun.
I like their like idea of living though.
Yeah.
And like reincarnation is like a cool idea to me.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah. So those are and those are again they're these precepts, and so the precepts are something that allows you to then self-confront, you know, and then.
And self-confront would mean like look in on yourself and like change and become better. Is that what you mean?
That's the thought, but then that's open to interpretation. But the interpretation is for you. So that's where if somebody else is trying to tell you, well, I think what you should do is.
And that's, I think, what I like about this, because I feel like a lot of this is a religion, right?
Buddhism, yeah, and I mean it's a spiritual practice.
A lot of them are a lot more strict, and it's like by the book, which like you do you, but I do like the idea of like a personal journey a lot.
Well, and whether it is, I mean, any spiritual practice, I kind of do think that most were initially created or they're there to help you on your journey, but then people kind of get in the way and start to say, well, this is what I think you should do. That, you know. Here we go. All right. Do I give relationship advice? Nathaniel Webb, yes, I do. So, yes. Sarah, that is so sweet.
I'm upset with men
the ladybug.
today.
What? Oh, okay.
So let's talk.
Yeah, maybe
some
today,
crap.
Nathaniel Webb, give us your question, and let's. We've got a licensed marriage and family therapist and somebody that's upset with men today, so you can't go wrong. I don't think. Right? Okay, is CPTSD commonly misdiagnosed? I think it's MD, major depressive disorder. I can see that, but one of the major depressive disorder typically is where one really does start to go flat, affect, shut down, that sort of thing. And the CPTSD can be that trauma response. Sometimes people are more agitated, or it's more of like that amygdala hijack state. And remember, we talked about CPTSD a couple of weeks ago, and it really is over time where all the brain is doing is getting into the fight or flight mode, because in that we were talking about how your short-term memory isn't as good because the part of your brain, the hippocampus, that stores your short-term memories just says we're not really needed here because you're continually being told your memory is wrong, gaslighting, that kind of concept.
So does it kind of put you into like survival mode?
Yeah. So then you're just tapping into that they call it your lizard brain or your Neanderthal brain, and then all hands on
lizard
deck.
Brain?
Have you heard that one?
No.
Yeah, any of those things that are just like your reptilian brain, it's your reactionary brain, it's your fight or flight response. I don't know if that's like a literal thing or not.
No, just kidding.
No. Let's talk about this one. Certified Gryffindor. Which house were you?
Oh, I think that I lied so I would get Gryffindor.
Okay. What
So
were you
I don't
really?
know. I have no idea.
Slytherin?
I literally don't know. Probably like the weird one, like Hufflepuff. No offense, guys.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's what it was.
But Certified Gryffindor said, how would you advise someone that has depression? And I think that is a really good question. And I'm curious, I don't know, do you have any initial thoughts or concepts around that?
Well, I don't have depression, so I don't know. You're the therapist.
I am.
Take it away,
Yeah.
Tony.
Okay, so, and I do, this is where I do like to say that, so depression, that we're having some big feelings, and if I do a quick step back, our feelings are there for a reason. Typically, we shove them down. If we, honestly, a lot of times when we're opening up to other people, they like to give advice such as, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal, just think about something else, don't be so
Just
down.
smile.
Just smile, all those things. And so then somebody that, a lot of times depression
Like,
is, it
shut
is your body's finally saying, okay, but I am worried about it. And I do think it's a big deal. And I can't just calm down. And so then when we start to feel like we aren't heard and seen and understood, then it can start to feel pretty heavy, pretty overwhelming, you know? And so that's one of those concepts where, so your emotions, I'm starting there because your emotions are trying to tell you something. Again, anxiety is trying to warn you. Anxiety starts out as your brain's trying to protect you. And then I think that depression's kind of saying, okay, man, you know, maybe we got to sit this one out. Maybe we need a little more sleep. Maybe we got to retreat because it doesn't feel safe when I'm opening up to other people.
Would you say that it's similar to anxiety in that, because I feel like a lot of typical media, like just smile, like all that dumb stuff, is telling you that it will go away. But I feel like what really helped me with my anxiety was not trying to make it go away.
Absolutely.
But accepting it and just like I was super anxious today and like my heart was beating really fast and I finally was just like, okay, it's just, let's go. Like it's just gonna beat. And then it finally stopped. So is it kind of like that where it's like, just allow it, don't try to
just push it away.
Just like accept it.
I mean, I think that's always a good thing. So, I mean, again, oftentimes I think one of the challenges is if you feel depressed, it's often because maybe you don't feel seen or heard or understood, and you're going to people around you that are giving you that advice, like don't worry about it, or it's not a big deal. So one of the first things to start doing is my emotional baseline theory, and that's where when you're firing on all cylinders, everything's going great, your emotional baseline's high, and you get the decisions that come at you. I got to go to the store, I got to be here on time, and it's like they're not too big of a deal. But when you start to feel overwhelmed, or you feel like unheard and unseen and not supported, your emotional baseline lowers, and the decisions are all still coming at you from the same place, and it just feels like I can't even get up to this place where I can access the tools I need to just do and be. So sometimes it's almost like this subconscious. I almost want somebody to help me do things. I want somebody to tell me I'm going to be okay. But that's where other people, especially if they're up here in the emotional baseline, they're just saying, hey, just try harder. Like, just don't worry about it. Just, think of something happy.
Yeah, but their experience is not your experience. It's not as easy.
So then that emotional baseline theory, then I like to say the first thing we can do is just something. So if you go for a walk and take in some fresh air, it'll bump your baseline up a little bit. Go pet your dog, it'll bump your baseline up a little bit. And we think we got to do these big grand gestures to get out of these holes that we're in. But a little bit, and at some point you're going to find that area where you can get some traction and I can kind of start to do. And I know we've talked about this too, and sometimes that's a medication. Antidepressant will allow you to raise your baseline up enough to get to the tools.
Have you heard of beta blockers?
Yeah.
What is your...
I don't know enough about them. Yeah. So what have you heard?
I just on Reddit, so it could all be a lie.
Okay.
Everything out of my mouth is probably a lie, but they said that it like helps your heart not beat, or wait, that's not right.
Heartbeat.
Like it helps anxiety. Yeah, like it helps you not.
Well, I know they lower blood pressure, and so I think the theory, to manage abnormal heart rhythms and to protect the heart from heart attack. Beta blockers, they block the release of stress hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline. They are widely prescribed for angina, heart failure, some heart rhythm. Okay, so if they're it's a heart issue. Okay. Yeah, but that would make sense though. And again, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, not a psychiatrist, not a medical doctor, so I'm not giving advice on medications, but I could understand because when your heart rate is elevated, you release the stress hormone cortisol and adrenaline and noradrenaline.
Oh,
yeah. And so then the more that somebody said something, I thought it made sense where they were saying, it coats the brain in cortisol or whatever.
Someone says it keeps you from producing adrenaline.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, thank you, Starstruck Delia. So yeah, it keeps you from producing adrenaline.
That I think.
Well, and the theory would be, and I like this conversation a lot because a lot of times too, if somebody is taking a medication and like an antidepressant that it maybe flattens their affect a little bit, because a lot of times people think an antidepressant means then it's going to make me super pumped and happy, but it just keeps you from going, what I had a client say one time, down into the basement with your emotions, and the basement's where the scary stuff is. So, but then when you are, that's why I say if it raises your baseline up, now you kind of still need to do. So it's like meditate, exercise, journal, all those, reach out to somebody that's a friend that's safe, that kind of thing.
I journaled yesterday.
Did you really?
I like it when I do it, but I never do it.
What did you write about?
I was talking crap.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll like manifest and stuff.
Yeah. That's
which I like. That's good.
Have you always done, you said you don't. Have you done journal writing often?
When I was little, I would, but...
Those are fun to read.
Yeah, they are. I feel like it's good. It's very, like, relaxing, and it helps me with my anxiety. Like, having a beginning and an end to, like, all of my thoughts and just being able to, like, see it there.
Yeah, okay, and I love that you say that. So I had a guest on my Virtual Couch podcast a while ago, and he talked about he had been writing every day for, I think, a year and a half, and it had been a goal of his. And we talked about that when your thoughts are jumbled in your head, they're nonlinear, they don't necessarily make sense, they typically go toward the worst case scenario, right? Mm-hmm. So when you write them out, they don't have to be a story form, but on paper or even typing them out, it's like they kind of free it from that headspace. Did you feel that way? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any epiphanies?
Not that I'll share with the class just yet.
Okay.
You guys will get the juicy details.
I'll get to that question about narcissistic family dynamics, because that one's on my. I have a couple of podcasts, Waking Up to Narcissism and Virtual Couch. We have one called Murder on the Couch, and with Mackie, the moderator, who is working hard behind the scenes. We've got one called The Mind, the Mirror, and Me, and then I've got one called Love ADHD. But the one about narcissistic family dynamics is on the Waking Up to Narcissism podcast, and it's so fascinating. It is, let's see, January 31st. Is this when there's
like one narcissist in your family? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I mean, it can be one, it can be a couple more. I mean, it can be a narcissistic family dynamic, but typically there's a primary narcissist, but it's called Unmasking Family Roles in a Narcissistic / Emotionally Immature Household. Okay, so the family roles in the narcissistic family is the enabler, the hero, the scapegoat, the lost child, and the mascot. Their roles to develop coping strategies to manage family dynamics or family stress. So they're wild. Like, it's really fascinating. The enabler is going to be the kid who is managing everybody's emotions, kind of keeping the peace, which sounds like an amazing thing, but that's a whole lot to ask for a kid to do. Then you got the hero.
Wait, why is that the enabler?
The enabler, because I know it sounds because they're actually then making up for the, like, let's say there's the narcissistic parent. They're the one that is kind of saying, oh, it's okay, guys, like, maybe dad's just having a rough day, or, right? So then it's...
So enabling as in not saying that the situation is bad, like just like trying to keep it calm.
Yeah, just kind of making excuses for people.
That's all they would know to do.
It absolutely is, yeah. And that's sad because, again, it sounds like not a horrible thing to do, but it just keeps things going.
Someone said there can be more than one role per person.
Yes, and you can even shift roles in the narcissistic family dynamic. You can occupy more than one role if your family is smaller.
Are any of them fun, happy roles?
Tell me more about that.
I don't know. Is this all bad? I don't really understand what we're talking about.
Okay, well, here we go.
Attention, though.
Here's the dynamics. This is really interesting. So really where this boils down to is there was some work done. It was quite a while ago, and it was basically taking a look at what does it look like to grow up in a dysfunctional family. And this started in alcoholic families. And so let's start off by like a good version. In a functional family, then what a parent is supposed to do is they're trying to create a safe, respectful environment. There's love. There's a secure attachment. The kids don't have to tiptoe around their parents' feelings and emotions. The parents are there to then support the kids. Sounds kind of nice, right? Mm-hmm. And so that helps put somebody in a good spot when they get out into adulthood. But what a dysfunctional family, there was a researcher that said, it's like imagine a child's world where their family, which should be their safest place, is a source of emotional wounds that then those kind of stick with them. In those families, typically they're marked by aggression, whether it's verbal or physical. Like when a parent will belittle somebody or try to dominate, the parent lies, they're controlling. And then affection is like used like currency. So then it's like transactional relationships or conditional love. And so a lot of people grow up with that. And neglect is pretty common in that family system. And it's really tough too. So when you're a little kid, your family is your whole world. And when you're little, it's like your parent is your protector, and you often view your parent like a superhero. And so here's the parent that's supposed to help you feel safe and secure. But then if you don't really know which version of your parent you're going to get, and it does make you feel kind of nervous or scared, then you start to develop roles to manage the family system, you know?
And then it's never allowing you to, like, be yourself in any way or, like...
Absolutely.
Discover yourself. Like, your home is supposed to be the safe space for your kid.
Absolutely. And that one's tough because if you're continually trying to figure out how to show up in your home so that you won't get in trouble or so that you'll keep the peace, the thing you're not doing is figuring out things you want to do or like to do. And that's that concept of an old soul, where then you know, a kid is kind of parentified, and then they really missed out on that childhood. Okay, here we go. The enabler, the caretaker, kind of like the backstage manager who's always fixing the set but never gets a bow. Man, I went big on this, so you're going to have to deal with, I think, some theater examples. So that role is taken on by a kid, especially if the other parent that isn't the narcissist or the emotionally mature isn't stepping in to support the family member causing the dysfunction. And so the enabler is the glue. They try to hold everything together. They pick up the slack. They handle problems. But they also end up almost being a little bit like the martyr in the family drama, because they're the ones that are reinforcing the roles that everybody else is playing in the script. And it's so sad because the kid's trying to survive, but then they're covering for the parent that's not showing up, and they're making excuses for the parent that's more emotionally immature. But they're protecting the family member that causes the problems. And so then that person never really feels the fallout from their actions. So... should we get to another question? I want you engaged in this.
No, and I am engaged. And people are saying that they like it.
Okay, we'll keep going.
And then it's like taking away, like... Well, now I forgot what I was saying.
My bad. I'll take that one.
I was saying something good.
Okay, when it comes back, you go, okay?
But people are liking this.
Okay, so parentification is, that the person then feels like they basically get robbed of their childhood. And I... Oh,
yeah, and then the kid is, like, now having to manage the parent's emotions for them. It's like the parent is, like, unintentionally throwing them into the parent position for themselves. They're being like, validate me, you know?
Real.
Like, it's sad.
Yeah.
And a kid doesn't know how to handle that. Like,
they don't. They really don't. Yeah. Because they just missed out on just the fun of being a kid. I pulled up the transcript of the podcast episode, and I just said, so imagine a playground where every other kid is on the swings, but they're the ones sitting there on the bench, with all the other parents, and like, hey, okay, get off, don't hit your brother. And I mean, they literally are parentified. And what's crazy? Okay, here's something that's crazy about it, is that the people around them are typically praising them because they're so mature, and we get our sense of self from external validation. So they are parentified. And then others are kind of saying, boy, you are very mature. And so that feels good, right? And so then,
And yeah, I feel like when you're a kid, like, you always, like, want to grow up. But then once you grow up, it's like, no, be a kid, little kid. Please be a kid for as long as you can.
There's so much.
It's so sad that they have to be forced out of that position. And then they're validated for it over and over again. I'm sure that's so confusing.
For real.
And I don't know, like, how, like, anxiety works but I feel like this could, like, be a way to manifest it into your life if like all your life as a kid you're walking on eggshells around your own parents. Like,
yeah. That one's tough because that's how you get that anxious attachment feeling of where then if I can't just be and I'm worried I'm doing it wrong, whatever it is, because the kid is just being a kid. But if all of a sudden they're like, they walk in the room and they're like, get out of here, or quiet down, or leave me alone, all of a sudden they're like, I was just like being a kid. Mm-hmm. And so that's that thing where then eventually, instead of even trying to express themselves or externalize their emotions, they stuff them inside. And now you need somebody else to tell you that it's okay, you're okay, you know, that what you're saying is right. And so you're relying on somebody else to tell you you're okay. Mm-hmm.
And then that pisses me off too, because then it's like when you like grow up and you move on in your life and like you get in a relationship.
Yeah. And
then your boyfriend like tells you something like don't do that, whatever.
You're like, oh,
if that's all you know, then you think that that's good, and then you stay with that guy, and that like sucks to me. It's like I wish we had like a YouTube video everyone could watch to learn love. Like I don't know, it sucks when like you get that taken away from you.
Well, okay, so great point though. So let's take a look at, sometimes I often feel like as a marriage therapist that your people don't know what a healthy or functional relationship even looks like. So when I'm sitting here trying to say, but that's, you know, that isn't good, or do you feel like you're being controlled or whatever? And somebody will then say, well, I mean, but it's not bad. It's okay. But if that's all you know, then typically if it's not horrible, then all of a sudden you think it's good. Mm-hmm. Right? That whole absence of bad does not mean it's a good relationship. It just means you're taking a break from the trauma for a little bit.
Yeah. And being comfortable isn't good either. Because I feel like that, especially if like you're in your childhood, like you went through those, like that emotional abuse, mm-hmm. It is going to feel comfortable to be in a crappy relationship. But like
it's not as bad.
There are better things than being comfortable. And like once you like break through that, like your life can be so much better. Take a shot every time I say like. Oh my gosh, I have to edit it out so much. It's so annoying. Okay.
You didn't say it at all there.
Nice.
That was pretty like impressive.
Thanks, man.
Forced it on that one. Okay, so we talked about the old soul. Okay, let's stay on the hero in a dysfunctional family.
That's me. Just kidding.
Tell me more about that hero role. But the hero plays this role of the parent, and it's the hero is, you know, or the golden child is also what it's called. That's the one where the parent gets to say, see, everything's fine. We're good parents. See, they get good grades. They do all the good stuff. So we're okay. But then what is that pressure on the hero or the golden child is now they have to embody the family's definition of success. Because they have to be the strong one, they have to be the achiever. And again, talk about some trauma, perfectionist or compulsive lying, because I can't let anybody down.
And if your kid is good, that doesn't mean you're a good parent. Vice versa, if you're a good parent, you could still have a psycho kid. Like, it doesn't correlate, I don't think.
No, I mean, no, I'm laughing because I feel like I missed the joke there.
No? Did you? Was I telling jokes?
No, like you're my kid.
Oh. I don't know. Yeah, wait, what does that have to do with anything?
You said that a good parent can have a psycho kid.
Are you saying that...
No.
Are you calling me insane?
No.
I'm calling
myself a parent. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so they got the hero, but the hero struggles with a lot of stress-related illness. They can become a workaholic. They have this pressure to always be the best, and that is a burden. That burden of, you know, they have to get into the top whatever and be, I mean, it just has to be, they're so used to, I'm okay as long as I'm perfect, because then I get the praise, and then my parents are okay. You know, they're not getting as angry because they can see, why aren't you more like your brother or your sister? But that, yeah, golden child. You know what's crazy too? I did put a part in here about, I think it's important when you talk about the hero, the golden child in a dysfunctional family, that role, it also impacts the golden child, because they also they're worried about, they see what's going on with their siblings, and they almost know that, man, I'm kind of making it worse for my siblings, but I'm also in a state of survival. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's because they know that they got to keep being perfect in order to get the parents to at least not be as bad. But that's tough. But I wanted to find this thing that says,
and they're probably getting treated way better than all the other kids, right?
By the parents. For sure. Yeah. But I found a part that in the research that talked about that the golden child can suffer from emotional and sometimes covert abuse by the narcissistic parent. They're also caught in the crossfire of witnessing and sometimes even participating in the abuse of the siblings, because sometimes the parent will make the golden child, like, you know, tell your brother, like, that they're not doing it the right way, and that you feel like the guy's mouth and like, I'm sorry, you know. And so
that's so sad, because that kid does not, like, that's not their fault. But I can't imagine the guilt you would feel growing up and realizing, like, why did I do that? But, like, that is not your fault.
And your
parents are weird.
They are, and you're spot on, because that's where it's experts believe that seeing your siblings being abused can be just as traumatic as experiencing it yourself. Like that, and I have worked with some people that have struggled with that, and they just, because then, and this is one of those wild things where, you know, as a kid, you really do feel like you're kind of the center of the universe. Not in a bad way, but that's, you don't really understand what others are going through. So if something happened in the family, then it's natural for a kid to feel like, man, I could have done something about it. So even when they get older, I'll have somebody in my office in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and you can go back to, they kind of say stuff like, man, you know, I should have done something. Especially if they were the golden child. But it's like, no, you were a kid.
And that's where I feel like the narcissistic parent is so, like, in the wrong too, because I forgot what I was saying.
But you're right.
And period. I hate when that happens.
Okay, so we got the hero. We got a couple more roles. You're saying, where's the fun one, right?
Yeah, where's the cool kid? Just kidding.
Okay, the scapegoat. And this is the one, I feel like I work the most with the scapegoats in the family. And I have a unscientific, untested, anecdotal belief that the scapegoat is often the one that eventually does get help and they find themselves, because if they're a golden child, then they're still hanging in there because they're getting validation. If they're the enabler, they're trying to manage everybody else's emotions.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Good, okay.
I can't even imagine, like, imagine the psychology of the kid who isn't getting beat and then has to watch because then you're thinking, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Or, like, why am I better than them? I just feel like that's all so messed up.
Yes, it really is. Oh, so where I was saying that the scapegoat, it's like the family's alarm system. And that what's crazy, this is where projection happens. The scapegoat is almost like acting out the issues the family's trying to sweep under the rug. So even though their behavior gets negative attention, it's almost like this smoke screen. So it diverts everybody from the real problems, that the parents are emotionally immature and abusive, because they're just like, but look at that kid. He's, you know, getting in trouble all the time and getting bad grades, and why can't you be more like your, you know, the hero? And then the enabler is coming in there going like, oh, but you know, we're all doing our best and it's okay. Hey, why don't you just go off to bed and I'll, you know, make dad the food or something. And so that's the enabler. So the scapegoat, though, tell me what you think about this one, because even when I started as a therapist, I thought this one didn't make sense, but I get it now. So they're in trouble not because they enjoy it, but because negative attention is still attention. Have you ever? What do you think about that? The scapegoat. Yeah. So negative attention is still attention. Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard that? Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt that?
No, I don't like negative attention.
Okay, right?
But I can imagine, like you said, like, especially a kid, like, you need to interact with someone else to know that you exist. So yes. If you've never received good attention, then bad attention is just as good to you.
Yeah.
Or, like, if you're so deprived of it, you'll take anything. Like, didn't we do something about monkeys? Baby monkeys.
Yeah, the Harlow and the monkeys.
There's some
experiment.
I don't remember what it's called.
I'm impressed.
There's some, like, thing where they talked about this, and, like, what was it? Like, the monkeys. I sound insane.
No,
right
you're doing great.
The monkeys.
Yeah, so it's Harry Harlow, and then the studies that he did, and it was back in the 50s and 60s. And before we get too far up there, I like Machiavelli said, any press is good press. And I get what they're saying. Like, that is that concept of where even if you're getting in trouble, you exist. You know that you exist. And so that's like a phrase you often hear. Here we go. Harlow. So he showed the impact of contact comfort on primate development. So these little infant rhesus monkeys, not like the candy, were taken away from their mothers and raised in a lab. And then some infants were placed in separate cages away from their others, the peers. And in social isolation, the monkeys showed a lot of disturbed behavior. They just like stared blankly. They walked in circles in their cages. They remember this one. They played rap music. They wore like leather jackets. really do that.
I have to purposely dissociate from this because I don't want to think about the monkeys being sad.
Okay. But then when they were isolated young, then when they were reintroduced to the group, they weren't really sure how to interact. So a lot of them still stayed separate from the group. And then, unfortunately, some of them didn't continue to exist after they stopped eating. So that alone is, so if you're a kid that's trying to exist in a narcissistic family system and you're feeling isolated because you're trying to just survive, then, and the point they made is that then even when you were put back into a group, so now you go into school or that sort of thing, you're around others, but you don't know how to interact because you're busy trying to manage your whole family system. So that, so you can feel like you're a little bit more alone or isolated.
You don't know how to interact in the world at all, right? Mm-hmm. Because all you've been used to is managing everyone else's emotions. So it's like you get out on the playground and like little Timmy's like sticking a stick up his, and like you are trying to like, like you're just not on the same page as like a dumb little kid anymore. And that's so sad.
It is, and then you're more apt to then fall prey for, I need to fix somebody else. I need a project. Right?
Is that where like fixers come in?
Some of it, yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why I like fixing men still.
Why do you?
It never works.
No, it doesn't. Why do you? Yeah, why do you?
No, I don't know. I don't anymore. I'm done. I'm retired.
Done. Retired.
Fully retired.
Man fixer. Okay, but part though, I wanted to say that because when you brought this study up, it is a good one because so also Harlow took infant monkeys from their moms and gave them to 2 inanimate surrogate moms. So, which is sad. So inanimate. So there's these like basically these wire cages are made of wire and wood. So one was just wire and wood. Then the second was covered with foam, rubber, and like soft terry cloth. And then the infants were assigned to one of 2 conditions. In the first, the wire mom had a milk bottle, and the cloth mom did not. And so, in the second one, the cloth mom had the food while the wire mom didn't. And in both those situations, Harlow found that the monkeys spent more time with the soft mom than they did with the wire mom, even if the wire mom had food. So it's like we want that comfort, and we want to feel safe, and we want to feel an attachment. And so that's where that whole like the attachment stuff goes. Is that then
they chose that comfort over like literal food? Was that what it was?
Yeah. No, you're right. So
wow.
So that's like, that was the kind of groundbreaking stuff that talked about that the parent-child attachment was more important than like food. So, which is sad because then, that's where you take that, go into that narcissistic family system, and all the kid wants is to be loved. All they want is to be hugged and told they're okay, and not managing their parents' emotions. Like that's.
And that just goes to show, like, you can feed a kid all their life, but they're still gonna have this like huge void that you can't physically see.
Yep.
But like as humans, like we really need that, like.
Yeah, and so then you're going around basically needing someone to tell you you're okay, somebody
and
to
fill that void now.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, if you're going up to somebody that they are securely attached, they're kind of like, okay, well, that's a you problem. I'm gonna go look for somebody else that is confident. So you'll find the person that's like, like, you want to know if you're okay? Well, what are you going to do for me? So now it's like more transactional, or you're more prone to manipulation. So that's.
And you're used to a relationship where your parent has only ever given you like 5%, right? Like they've never fulfilled the 100% of the parent deal.
No.
So then I feel like, when you get into a relationship, all you're looking for is 5% of a good relationship.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Like, you don't even know, you are completely unaware of the 95% amazing goodness that you're missing out on.
That you have, that's inherent.
Yeah, literally. That like you have the ability to feel and you deserve to feel, but like you have to tell yourself that you deserve it because your parents are.
I appreciate your pause.
We hate them.
I appreciate your pause before you say.
I'm gonna beat them up.
So, but this kind of goes along with the, if you need somebody else to make you feel better, then what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I don't feel good. Now you make me feel better, and then that person is probably not gonna do it, and then you get to say, you don't care about me, and I'm a piece of garbage. You have to like learn to feel better about yourself, which sounds so cliched, but it's the process of maturing and growing and becoming and those sort of things. Okay.
Cliche stuff is important.
What's that?
Cliche stuff is
important. I know
important.
it is. Yeah, a lot of cliches become that because they are true. Okay, so we did that. Here's the ones that there's 2 more that you don't hear a lot about. So the lost child, they're under the radar. They're the quiet one. They're the dreamer. They're like a shadow. They're barely seen or heard. They're just kind of like, if I can fade into the background, I'm okay. It's like a survival skill. And so somebody earlier asked, can you occupy more than one role? And yeah, because a lot of times if, let's say that somebody goes off to college or somebody leaves the home or gets a job or they're not in home as much, it's like the narcissist is still the narcissist, so everybody else figures out a different role. So that one's kind of tough. Okay, but the one that I did not know of, which is part of why I even did the whole episode on narcissistic family systems, is, I'll tell you this though, I also went on a tangent on the episode and talked about the lost child. From a psychological standpoint, they end up having difficulty in forming deep connections because they lack practice in social interaction because they're kind of fading into the background. So they have a challenge like having meaningful relationships. They avoid conflict at all costs. So then that means they end up suppressing their emotions and it just becomes like what it feels like to be them.
And they're probably terrified to put themselves out there in any way because whenever they saw that happen to like their siblings, like that's it. Hurt. So, and I feel like even if you know in your mind, like, oh, I want to be outgoing, like I want to make friends, that subconscious feeling like is still going to be there and like you have to address it. Yeah. Or else it's not going to go away, I feel like. Absolutely.
And that's a good one because then we get hooked on the old, like, you know what, I don't feel good about it right now. I'll do it later. And then there's also, I had a session yesterday where I appreciated that we were identifying the old, you know what, when I feel better, then I'll start trying to make friends. And so I was kind of like, okay, what's that going to look like? When will you know you're feeling better? And there's like, I just think I will, and it's like, okay, how long have you been talking about it that way? Well, it's been a few years. So, you have to actually start doing in order to feel better. But we think I got to feel better in order to do.
And I feel like doing doesn't have to, like, I've only ever moved in baby steps in my entire life. I've literally never taken a full stride, you know what I mean? And I feel like you can still get places with that. Like,
oh, that's good.
Like little... Yeah. And then it's not as, like, scary of a change. And then I feel like after that, you kind of just, like... It is a thing where you kind of just wake up one morning and you're like, oh, wow. Like, wow. Why was that country?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. Hey.
Like, you know what I mean, though?
Yes. I mean, that because, okay, there's this is kind of fun, because we haven't talked about some of this stuff, and you're like, nailing it.
This is fun.
It's fun. How about that narcissistic family system, huh? I know, I feel bad. Sometimes a couple will go through, like, I'll help them use my beloved 4 pillars. They talk through a difficult conversation, and I'm sitting there like, you guys are doing great talking about your trauma and the things you never excited. I am. And sometimes at the end of a session, I'll be like, that was awesomely difficult. And man, you guys, boy, that's way to go.
High five from Tony.
Okay. Where were we? Oh, I was praising you from the small steps. Because actually, the data shows that a lot of times people feel like when they want to get rid of their discomfort because they feel bad about what they're doing, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do these 15 things and I'm going to do them every single day. Like, we think we got to go so big with change, but the reality is I'm going to think about doing a new thing. Until then, I'm like, I don't think I can do that. And I'll do a thing,
And then if you say you're going to do 15 things and you only do 14, you feel like you didn't do good enough. Totally. But the reality is you still did so much. You really did. Yeah. I feel like that's, like, part of it, too. When I get like, guilty about stuff, then I just won't do it anymore. Yeah. And like,
for real.
It's such a, like, unproductive feeling.
Yeah, and I, like Betsy said, we have to crawl before we can walk, which is so true. And another, so if we kind of go down that path of my beloved acceptance and commitment therapy kind of says, okay, once I decide I'm going to do something, then I'm going to start doing it. And then if I'm a normal human, I'm going to do it until I maybe don't. But instead of going, man, see, I stink and I couldn't do it, then when I notice that I didn't do it, then guess what I can do the next day? Start again. And if you do that over and over, eventually your brain finally kind of goes, fine, do it. Yeah.
And then you get more in the habit, and then the good things that you're doing become easier.
Yeah. Yes. And it's also Clue. That's not the right word. It's also Clue, the game from Child. It was Professor Mustard. He did it in the library with the... Did you ever play Clue? Mm-hmm. Did you like it? Mm-hmm. I'm horrible at those games.
I kind of hate video games. Or... board games.
Is that why you never played board games with us?
I can't sit... And I get so bored, and I just don't care about the game at all. I'm like, this is cardboard and sticks. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Do you like board games?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're like I'm a get this. Like, I don't know. It's like it's a board game.
I enjoy shared experiences. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. Because, okay, if I
enjoy some shared experiences.
Okay, but I like what you're saying, though, because this is where I nerd psychology everything, and I could not do anything, and then I already know what that feels like. But if you interact with people, then you're going to have experiences, and then you're going to learn more about yourself and them, and so you kind of got to be doing in order to be learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'd be doing something else. I'd be watching. I'm on the last season of Temptation Island, and I'm freaking out because I really don't want it to end. Oh. Also, the new season of Love is Blind is really good. You guys should watch it.
Yeah. Hey, Syd.
What's up?
What's up? I was just reading over here. Man, okay, there's a lot of good stuff here.
Did we finish the narcissistic family?
No, we did not. And I was very aware of that. I was coming back to it. That is gaslighting. Okay, the one that we haven't talked about yet, Lonely Child, Lost Child.
Someone said thoughts about love on the spectrum.
Oh, I'm digging it.
I loved it, but I totally understand people feeling uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Totally understand that.
So yeah. I work with, I have a couple of clients that are, high functioning autistic. And so one of them, and they're amazing, they're wonderful. And I was saying, because I've been working with them for a long time, I just said, have you watched it? And they said, yeah. And I could tell, okay, there's a little bit of emotion. I said, what do you think? And then they said that they feel like it almost makes it worse for them because their autism displays differently. Mm-hmm. So then they said that some people that know that they're autistic, because they're in their 20s, they said that then people just kind of assume that then, oh, wow, so you're like those guys, huh? Mm-hmm. And they're not curious.
And that's where that like hurts me genuinely. Like if it hurts the actual people that it's about, like that's awful. Mm-hmm. But and I do feel like it is just the thing where like, especially reality shows or like dating shows, they play into like stereotypes a lot, and they want it to look as insane as they possibly can. Right. Yeah. So it's just like, I feel like if you're watching reality TV and you're taking it seriously, like that's where you're in the wrong. Yeah. And I am in the wrong because I pretend like it's all real.
So remember when we were trying to get my friend Coach Craig on here and we couldn't quite get it to work? Mm-hmm. He was on a reality show and I was his therapist friend. Do you remember this? I think you were pretty young. Did you know that? So it was one where, and he's really open about having addiction, a former, I don't want to say the thing that gets all of a sudden we get, like, yeah.
Corn
like cob. Kind of, yeah. But then they had, there was a podcast, a podcast that was called like Trading Places with the Enemy or something. So someone that was in the adult entertainment industry came and lived at his house, and then he went and lived at their house. But when that person came here locally, we put together we were talking about how to overcome corn addiction. And so they brought all the TV cameras in and we were all I was talking about stuff and other people were as well. But it was really interesting where they would have you cut in the middle of, I was doing a live QA or talking about some stuff around addiction. And then they're like, cut, can we get a different angle? And I was like, okay, this doesn't seem very natural. Mm-hmm. But he told us, Mom and I were watching the show itself, and then he said at one point they show him knocking on the door, and he told us that they took like 5 takes of that.
See, I don't like to hear that. I want to pretend like it's all real. Yeah. But it's not. So, like, that's where I'm saying with, like, the love on the spectrum thing, it's like, come on.
Somebody had said, and we'll get over to the questions, we got those over here, but I appreciate, somebody had said, why would anybody be uncomfortable with love on the spectrum? And it's a great question, and this is where I don't want to sound dismissive. But, I mean, because they are, and that's a them issue, but then it's like, why? Because and typically it's people are uncomfortable with the unknown. Or if they don't interact with anybody that has autism spectrum disorder in their life, then there's the unknown. And then when we don't know something, we tend to observe somebody and make a judgment. Like, that's kind of just the way we work. We observe a couple together and we make a judgment of why they're together. I think I've joked with this one before. Like a guy that maybe appears more to be dressed as an unmade bed with a very attractive partner. Mm-hmm. What do people often just say?
That he's, you want me to say that he's rich?
Yeah, I mean, that's what people will do. And then it's like,
funny though.
He could, but I mean, but it isn't that they have a close connection, you know? Like, we're like, oh, it must be this. Mm-hmm. And so then if you go over and say, hey, why are you guys together? If the person doesn't say exactly what I think, then I get to say they're not even being honest with themselves. So that's why. So when people that, if they're uncomfortable, they're like, ooh, I'm not familiar with that. So now I'm making these judgments based on my observation. and I'm not being curious, and and I think that's like kind of a challenge.
And who's to say just because someone doesn't interact exactly how you act, that the way you act is the right way?
Right.
Like, what? That's just so... Yeah, everyone's different, and, like, just let people be different and don't judge them because you're probably wrong.
Yes, yes. Okay, lost child, the couple that we hadn't hit on yet is risk of depression and anxiety. Isolation and emotional suppression increases the risk of anxiety. I think you had mentioned that one. And then here's the one that I did not know about. It's the Mascot. So the Mascot is basically trying to balance the narcissistic family system with humor. That's the Mascot. So...
Is this safe?
What?
This water
Where'd
bottle?
it come from?
What do you mean? It's over there.
It is. In my fridge? Yeah, there's cold ones in the fridge.
Oh, I want a cold one.
The Mascot's wild. So the Mascot tries to make everybody laugh when arguments heat up or when things get too intense. They're kind of like the entertainer, and then the humor, it kind of serves this purpose for the Mascot because then they are able to kind of deal with the emotions, but in a different way.
Oh, so this is the person that they'll be funny because of their trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a vibe, at least.
I was gonna say but now here's where cue the sad music, and where I was like, whoa, this one hit pretty deep. It says, beneath this seemingly carefree exterior, the Mascot is anything but relaxed. They're usually on the go, anxious or down if things aren't constantly in motion. This hyperactivity can spill on their inability to concentrate and focus, making school or work a challenge. So all of a sudden, man, I'm feeling all the feelings on this one, I kind of like humor, a little bit of ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
So then...
The puzzle pieces are coming together.
That's what I felt like. Because I actually, on this one, this is the fun of ADHD and having a podcast. I had a whole other one planned, and then I learned literally about this in a meeting or that morning. And I'm like, I'm doing a podcast on it. And then by the end of the day, I got an hour and 10-minute podcast on the family systems. So this one even gets more complex. So the Mascot often struggles with forming genuine, deep connections. Their relationships might feel more like projects as they gravitate towards trying to save or fix others, rejecting their own family dynamics. Like
reflecting their own family dynamics.
Oh, okay, there you go. Underneath all the humor and charm, they battle feelings of low self-worth and guilt, which they try to counteract by being super nice. Then they become people pleasers, and that's the classic sign of codependency. So they might appear like the happiest and most carefree member of the family. They're kind of like the sad clown.
Just trying to like ease the tension kind of thing?
Yeah.
Is that like what their place is?
Yeah, because if mom and dad are fighting, it's like, hey, look at me, I can juggle. I'm funny. And then, but it is the person that I remember when I was a new therapist and I was working at this nonprofit, and one of the supervisors, he just said something. I was talking about a client that I had helped, a teenager, and he was saying, well, there goes a shot of being a professional comedian, because I was like, wait, is that do bad? Is that bad? Yeah. Oh, John, look at what John's asking.
How is the no vaping journey going?
John, good question.
I haven't vaped. I'm so surprised. But I'm still doing the Zins. But I switched to 3. Oh, I think I already told you guys that. Mm-hmm. I haven't gone back to 6, so...
Okay. Is there a plan to go from 3 to a number less than 3?
I have to... There's no number less than 3.
Oh,
I just
it's
have
like
to quit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like thinking that was a number of things. It's like the milligrams of...
It's the milligrams of nicotine. But I've been trying to take less every day, taper that off.
Okay.
But I am so terrified of the day where I don't have any nicotine at all. And that's bad that I'm scared of that. So I need to
acceptance at this
figure
point,
that
my
out.
friend. You've done some phenomenal work for real. Give yourself some grace there.
Yeah, if you guys are trying to quit vaping, it was super easy for me to switch to Zins, a little too easy, you know what I mean? But I am very glad because, I feel so much better not vaping. I'm saving money, my lungs feel better, all of that. But I'm definitely addicted to the Zins, so that's going to be a new thing. I do feel like it's easier for me to push away a Zin craving.
Okay.
Easier than a vape. Because a vape is just so easy to hit. It's so dangerous.
Hitting that dome.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Those were good times, bro. Okay. Those were good times.
Acceptance.
Hit your vape for me. Don't.
No.
Don't. Sorry.
You've done amazing with that. And I know we've talked a little bit about the harm reduction model, where that really is going from one thing to less, reducing harm instead of assuming you have to just go cold turkey.
Noah hit the dome for me. Thanks, Noah. Someone said, what did I switch to? I switched to Zins. You can get them at any smoke shop. And I like the mint ones because it reminds me of, it like has a little burn. And that sounds psycho to anyone who doesn't understand.
No, you said that, and one of my other favorite clients I'm working with that was also trying to do that. And look, Brianna's like, good job, you got this.
No, and that's where I have like the out-of-body moment where I'm like, Sydney, why do you want to feel a burn in your throat? Like, that can't be good for you.
Well, it's interesting. But okay, so one of my favorite people, another client, they had told me about that. So when you said that, that made so much sense. Like that burn, like whatever that is. Okay, KK, your daughter is so smart. Is she interested in studying psychology?
I don't know if college is the building for me.
Yeah.
But I am very interested in psychology, and I do like talking about it.
Yeah. It is pretty wild because the barrier to entry for a therapist is kind of high because you have to get your bachelor's degree, then you have to get a master's degree, and then you do like 3,000 hours as an intern, and then you have to sit for the licensing exams. But I mean, it's important because you're trying to help people deal with their emotions and their feelings and their relationships.
I respect that. Like in my brain, I'm like, if I have to do anything for 3,000 hours, I'm going to hate it after.
And you have to do it in a row.
No, you don't.
Okay. Bethany, you guys are over there describing what took me my entire life to figure out the narcissistic family system. And I feel that it's so wild to again hear somebody put words to maybe your experience, and I think that's
so good though.
It is. I think it really does help a lot.
That like clicking feeling is the best feeling ever.
Yeah. Machiavelli, great question. Any tips for dealing with loneliness? Being an adult is less fun than we made it out to be. That's so well said. Mm. You're an adult. Mm-hmm. You having a good time?
I actually really liked being alone, but I feel like I didn't always like being alone, so I'm trying to think like, what did I do to like it? Mm-hmm. I don't know. So
let's kind of take a step back where then I really feel like this goes to that place of when we had to manage others' emotions or we weren't allowed to kind of do and be our own thing when you're young. Then you need another person to interact with to kind of feel like you exist or are alive. And we feel that a lot. So it's like, have you ever done something and you just want to tell somebody or show somebody? Or...
Yeah, I think that I used to be a really big people pleaser. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I would like love to be alone because it almost felt like less stressful.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Because then it's like I wasn't managing everyone else's. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if you look at it like that, like it is great to be alone because you can literally do whatever you want and like you don't have to do anything that anyone else wants to do,
hard.
You know?
Yeah,
listen
absolutely.
to your favorite songs, like watch your shows and stuff. Like it can be a good thing.
Yeah, and it can. And that part too, where what Machiavelli was saying too is like you do kind of you kind of can't wait. You said it earlier today too. You can't wait to be an adult. When you're an adult, you just have this vibe or thought that everything's going to be a lot easier. I mean, I don't know if you wouldn't have this experience, but I think most people have this one where they realize that their parents maybe aren't as smart or cool as they think.
Oh, I had that one. Just kidding.
But I mean, where you start to realize, man, we're all just trying. We're all just trying our best and being and doing. But you think you're going to figure something out when you get to be an adult. And eventually, if you are, this is where I'm so confident about, if you are starting to take action on things that matter, try to find a sense of purpose. And then that doesn't mean you're locked in for life. You just start doing, and you're in point A, and then you're going to get to B and C. And at some point, what it feels like to be you is I know the more that I'm out there doing, the more I'm learning about myself. And then the more I can realize I can actually kind of do anything I want. But then you typically start that journey surrounded by people that are telling you what you should do. And I wouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? So then we're like, oh, am I doing it wrong? And I think that's one of the hard parts of, when somebody is by themselves, it's sometimes because they need a break from people telling them what to do and think and feel.
And you grow up, right? And you see an older person who's lived more life than you. Mm-hmm. Like, of course it feels like you should listen to what they have to say because they've lived and had more experiences than you. But I feel like growing up is realizing nobody has the same experience as you.
No.
And you will never have the same experience as anyone else.
Yeah.
And nothing that they do, you have to do.
No,
because
that's so good.
You have to listen to yourself because nobody knows what you've gone through except for you.
Mm-hmm. So... Okay, so I like what you said so much because then...
And you can listen to me.
That's right, because you've got to kind of figure it out, right?
Don't.
But that's why I think what's so good about that is that at some point, we don't maybe feel as much of the need to isolate, and because as we interact with others, it is helping us figure ourselves out. What I mean by that is, so like when I changed my career, 10 years in software, and then I want to be a therapist, I did not get a lot. Your mom was awesome, but a lot of people were thinking, why would you do that? You know, computers are the future and therapy. And I kept finding myself wanting to be, they got a good point.
No, you got a good one because AI can't take you.
I know, right?
Period.
I know. Yeah, that was good. But in that, though, like somebody said, yeah, you were the only one experiencing your life. That's exactly right. Sorry. I guess I got to go. I'm too old for TikTok.
You're too old?
Dang it. All right. Well, good night, everybody. That was fun.
Guys,
I had a
now
good run.
you have to listen to me. What are we gonna do?
Oh, that was kind of funny. I mean, part of me doesn't even want to give that, but I love that where it's like someone really is like, you're too old for TikTok. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, my whole life.
And you are 3-year-old picking your nose playing Fortnite.
Okay. But that's like, I do feel though, like that's bless your heart. If you want to get it, you got to come on here and go, you know, or bad or whatever. It's kind of interesting. Oh, Summer randomly found this on my For You page tonight and I needed to hear this. Thank you, Summer, for being here. For real. Like that makes me super happy.
Go
Jamie,
Queen.
could sit and talk to you both for hours. Your insights and understanding are helpful. Jamie, let's talk for hours.
That's nice.
Okay, honest to goodness, we are the world's worst promoters though. If you go get our subscription somewhere on TikTok, it's like $2 or $3 a month. I didn't even tell you this. So I'm starting to record things. And if you subscribe, then, and you give us a question, then we will, you don't even know this yet. We will video respond to your question personally and answer it.
Oh, I won't be doing this. Just kidding.
You will. You will, Syd. You will.
Of course.
Okay, how do I feel about...
Oh, that's smart. So it's more personal.
Uh-huh. Oh, and I like it.
No, I think that's a really
I
good
will,
idea, actually.
I dig it. I love every bit of this. I love this job so much. Okay, Gracie Gold, how do you feel about medication and having hopeless thoughts, but not a fan of meds? I hear you. And what's funny is when I was becoming a therapist almost 20 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know. And for some reason, I was like, you know what? I'm going to help everybody. And they're not going to need medication, even though I had no idea what I was talking about. But then sometimes we need medication, and it's okay. And actually, I had an experience recently with somebody where I go back to, if earlier we were talking about what I call my emotional baseline theory. So when you are feeling so down, your baseline of emotions is low, and let's say it's down here, and the tools to be able to get yourself out of a spot that you're in are here. Right up here is where I could reach out to a friend, go on a walk, mindfulness, do something. But here, I'm like, I can't get to here, and then I feel worse because I even know what the tools look like.
And then you're like watching life pass you by. I feel like I felt that before that stuff.
And it does. And so then that's, and the reason I'm bringing that up again is that I do feel that often medication can get your baseline up to this point where you can access the tools. But if you are here, you're not in necessarily a good place to make the decision on whether I need medication or not.
Oh, that's a good point.
I know. It's wild, right?
That's tricky.
Yeah. So that one's tough. That one's really tough. And I have a men's group that I run on Wednesdays. And tonight there's a doctor in there, and he was talking about this similar experience and trying to get people to just, we sometimes know that would probably be the best thing to try, at least to rule it out. Because if I continue to tell myself, but I don't want to take meds, but I still feel really crummy, sometimes there's a couple of vibes there. One is where it's almost like we want somebody to say, but it's okay if you do. Oh, really? Or we're so afraid of the unknown, and there's uncertainty with meds.
That's what I think. I think it's like when you say, what do you say? Like, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. That's where I feel like I was at with ADHD meds, which is so different, obviously.
I was thinking the same thing because I was too.
But I was like, before I ever tried ADHD meds, I was like, I'm chilling. Like, this is just my personality. Like, yeah. I'm funny this way. Like, I don't know where any of my items are or what I'm doing or what day it is. It's fine. Like, I like lived like that for so long that, like we said, I was comfortable. And it's like, when you're comfortable, you can like associate that with something being good even when it's not.
Right.
And it's not
horrible,
but, yeah,
right? That
exactly.
absence of bad, that thing is so wild.
But when I did take medication, like I found one that worked for me, it was like, oh wow, okay, definitely should have been doing that, and that's not everyone's experience.
No, exactly.
But I can relate to being like, I don't need that, and then it's like, oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I pulled up the stuff from ADHD 2.0, the book, and like on that one, for example, I remember we were reading about this, and I think it's so interesting of the part. I thought this was wild. It is less common for those who have ADHD to purposely take far too much stimulant medication. Long-term studies have found that those with ADHD who are successfully treated with stimulants become addicted to substances far less than the general population, and certainly less than the population who have ADHD and do not take medication.
That's another thing. It's like I didn't even know it, but I was definitely self-medicating with
things.
Flour, you know?
Like baking flour?
Yeah, that's kind of sounds a lot worse. But
yeah,
I was,
get you.
And I didn't even know that I was doing that because I didn't understand that it was like a lack of dopamine in my brain or whatever. And yeah, I mean, like I think that's why I was.
Yeah.
Because it was giving me that dopamine.
Yeah, because it says on the flip side, teens who have ADHD and are not treated. What's that feeling?
What? I zoned out. Did I miss a joke?
No. Teens who have ADHD and are not treated are 5 to 10 times more likely to become addicted to substances. It's a myth that people come to psychiatrists to get the highest dose and greatest number of pills. He says, indeed, one of the biggest problems encountered is that patients do not take the total prescribed dosage for the month. The tough part is keeping them on the medicine. Yeah. Okay. How to deal with balding young. Man, embrace it. Or go get like hair transplants or something. Or actually there's like medications that you could take. And that's a funny one to me because, yeah, I'm bald. Just
be bald, bro.
I know, right?
Live your bald life.
It's funny because one of the things, I still remember I had a new client once back in the old days where I wasn't able to be a little bit more picky or choosy with my client. And I had a guy and we're sitting across from each other and he had the hair plugs. And they were like just perfectly like little farm of like little plugs. And I'm sitting there shaving it. And I felt like he just kept looking at my head, you know, and I felt like he was like kind of going, man, should I have done this? You know, but I mean, that's everybody's choice. Whatever one wants to do is great. Oh, is it hard to heal in therapy from narcissistic family dynamics while still living in it or being around it? What are your thoughts?
Definitely.
Yeah, for real. Any ideas why?
Because it's constantly all around you.
Yeah, and the Bessel van der Kolk has a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and that's that. He says that the neurons that fire together wire together, which just means that if every time you walk in your house and you're one of those roles and you're like, okay, what's going on? Like your heart rate starts to race, and so then over time your body starts to say, well, this is our new baseline. You know, our heart rate is going to operate right here, and let's say your startle response is here, so all of a sudden you're like, oh, you're jumpy, you know. And so then even when you start to like meditate and stuff, you know, you'll return back to this home base of like a stress response. And somebody had asked, one of the questions earlier was, with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, do you ever get your memory back? If you know, because you have memory issues. And that's tied with this. So the answer is yes, but you have to get yourself out of the stressful environment. I went to a training once and the person was saying that one of the best things you can do if somebody was having a panic attack in your office, for example, and I really didn't understand this at first, but then they were pretty funny. They said, tell your client to go out in the waiting room and grab the second magazine on the table and turn to page 50. And I'm like, okay, what magazine do we got to have? But you know what they were really saying? It's like, just go and do something so that you're not just sitting there stressed out. And then this guy said that the best thing you can do is have your client go on the top of a mountain with a clear, unobstructed 360-degree view. So it's basically like to calm down your amygdala, your anxiety, is because I can see.
If you're having anxiety attack, go climb up a mountain.
Right? And then you said the point was like you have to be out of the environment. You know, you have to, right? Sense. So I thought it was kind of interesting.
I've been finding that a lot. I got like a heart monitor app and I had to delete it because I was like obsessing over, like I would have a lot of anxiety and it makes my heart beat. So then I got that so I could try to lower it, but then I found that, I'm just like obsessing over it and it makes it worse.
Yeah.
And today I finally just deleted it and I did like what you said. I was like, I'm just gonna live my life, and if I die from this, I will. But like I didn't, because it's just anxiety. But it can just feel so real in the moment.
Absolutely, and I like that you know that is your experience, and who am I to say, well, what you should have done? But then it's fascinating because the more that I meditate, I'm now paying attention to my heart rate, because I'm noticing that different meditation tracks and different guided meditations that I can be a little bit more present or in the moment. And I can tell by my heart rate if I'm more into that Zen state. Like today I couldn't. This morning I don't know what it was. I did a really cool meditation. It was 15 minutes. And so for me, I mean, I try to get my heart rate in the 50s. Like if I can, the low 50s. Every now and again I can touch like the high 40s. And today I couldn't get it under 60. And I was trying to just be and do, you know, so that's kind of where I'm paying attention to it. Because then I'm thinking, okay, do I need more sleep? Do I need more hydration? But I hear you, you know, if that's like a challenge.
No, yeah, I was obsessing.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I was doing it in the midst of an anxiety attack, you know?
Oh, that's, yeah, okay.
It wasn't like, wake up, check it.
You weren't like, let me see if I can get it really low.
It's like, oh, the walls are melting.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder if my heart's beating fast. Yeah, it's beating fast. You're having an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Probably
don't
not
do
the
that.
ideal time to check the old heart rate.
No, but my favorite time.
Okay, I'm majoring in psychology, and your lives inspire me to keep pursuing it. Please do. I was talking about this on a podcast today. I just hired a new intern, and she's amazing. And on my Virtual Couch podcast, we talked about grief and loss. But I'm grateful that the stigma behind mental health has been going away. But what that means is, thank goodness, more people are going to get help for their mental health, and there sometimes aren't enough therapists. So go. Major in psychology and do it. Be a therapist. Oh, thanks. Animal. That's a great member sub perk, personal response. I'm pumped about it.
Whose idea was that?
Mine.
Go King.
So I've got this. So I get a lot of emails. I'm grateful for it, and I have an assistant that tries to answer most of them. But then if I get here early in the morning and my ADHD is flowing, and I'm wanting to, I don't know, just watch videos or whatever, that's one where I notice it. I don't beat myself up, and then I've got this program called Bonjoro, and it allows me to do video responses to emails. So I like nothing more than every now and again just getting on there and just recording a video to answer. And then it'll tell you when they open it, and sometimes people open it, they'll watch it a bunch of times. It's kind of nice. So I want to do the personal responses. Let's
Very
see.
good idea.
Hard healing therapy, we did that one. Oh, who is Waldo? What are your thoughts on the human magnet syndrome and replacing codependency with self-love deficit disorder? It is so good. And we have a video, one of the ones pinned, as we talk about human magnet syndrome. And the author of that book is a guy named Ross Rosenberg. And I talked about him and human magnet syndrome on my Waking Up to Narcissism podcast, and I think this is a funny story. And then within a couple of days, I get an email, and it says, it's from like Ross Rosenberg, and it says like something like, regarding your episode. And I was like, oh crap, he's gonna tell me to cease and desist, or I'm gonna go. And he's like, thank you so much. And so then I developed a bit of a relationship with him, and he came on the podcast, and he's awesome.
Tony?
That's like a kind thing. Yeah. But human magnet syndrome is this concept of the pathologically kind person gets in a relationship with the emotionally immature narcissistic person, and they form a human magnet, and that magnet is almost impossible to break, because the more that the narcissist does negative things, then the kind person tries to continually figure it out, and I'll do it different, and I'll be better, but it's continually shifting, and it's almost breakup resistant. What do you think?
It's that thing, right, where you said, like, when the pathologically kind person is, like, nice to the narcissist, it just like gives them the buttons to push,
totally,
right?
Yeah.
Like it's that, like you're telling them what to do to hurt you, basically.
You really are. So if you're like, hey, I need you to stop calling me names, you know, then even if in that moment they're like, okay, you're right, but then the next time that you make that person angry, what are they going to go to first? Calling you names, you know? And so what they were talking about was, so Ross Rosenberg is trying to kind of replace the concepts around codependency to self-love deficit disorder. And I'd love to put this link. If you go to selfloverecovery.com, then there are these pyramids that Syd and I are looking at. And this thing is so good. So the self-love deficit disorder pyramid, it starts on the bottom. And this is, again, instead of codependent, it's a self-love deficit disorder. So you're not codependent, you lack self-love. So then it starts with
And is this a new idea of looking at codependency?
Yeah,
okay.
And it's really good. And so he says at the bottom of this pyramid is attachment trauma. So it is conditional childhood attachment, neglect, abuse. So the love was conditional from your parent. And so then, you know, these disassociated childhood trauma, the memories of abandonment, and then up from that on this pyramid is a core shame. And this phrase is deep. I bring this one out a lot, where it's that you have this fundamentally flawed self-concept, or I'm only as good as what I do or don't do for others. So I'm a human doing, is what he says. So that's like, I'm going to continually try to do something to get somebody to love me.
Mm-hmm. And that could explain why someone doesn't feel comfortable alone, too, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you were good.
Because your
Machiavelli, I hope you're hearing that one. Yeah.
Revolves around doing things for other people, when it's like you don't have to do anything to deserve like love or being a good person.
You
like,
don't. You don't. You
like,
shouldn't have to.
Everyone deserves it.
So then, and here's why you nailed it, Syd, without even knowing what's up on. Look at what's on the next level of this right here. Check that out. What is that one?
Pathological loneliness?
Yeah, so I've got this private Facebook group for women in relationships with narcissistic entities, people, and somebody brought up how lonely, and they brought up a pathological loneliness, which a pathology is, it's like, so pathological kindness is like kindness is in your bones, it's in your genes, it's in your DNA, that's like your pathology. So if you get to a point of pathological loneliness, it's like it is all consuming and it's excruciating and you feel worthless and lonely. So Ross Rosenberg called it, so pathological loneliness because I'm only as good as what I do for others.
And it's because subconsciously you think that you need to do things to...
Yeah.
How do you get into your subconscious and change that? Do you just have to like really address it with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, well, I really feel, not just because I'm a therapist, but that's one where it really does help working with somebody that really understands or knows how to do that, because there's a lot of concepts there of like the shadow self, the things that we suppress about ourselves. So then we put out this version of ourselves and we tell everybody like, hey, this is me, I'm awesome, right? And if people are like, I actually don't have that experience with you, then there's this deep rejection. So sometimes you have to be able to, why we talk about self-confrontation so often, as if somebody's saying, hey, you're not very reliable, if my first response is, well, neither are you, or okay, well, I'm busy or whatever, then it's like I'm never going to touch on that shadow of that. It's like, man, is there truth there? So if I can then eventually realize I have to start from a place of, you know what, I'm okay. I am actually an okay person. I am just doing and being. This is my first time ever as me right now. And so is there truth in that? If there is, then I can actually thank you, person, even if you did it in a bad way, for helping me see myself. So then I can work on it. Now I can start to become more reliable, But then eventually somebody can say, well, I still think you aren't. And now it's like, oh, well, I am. So that's a you issue. You are expecting that from me. And that's a process. So then up from the loneliness then is self-love deficit disorder addiction. And Ross says narcissistic compulsion. Loneliness ache or withdraw subsides with the drug of choice, the narcissistic lover. So when you feel so lonely, and you only feel like you're as good as what you do for others, then how do you get rid of that loneliness feeling? You go back to what you know. I'll go do this for that person, and then they'll love me for a bit.
Oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that is what love is for you.
That's what love is for you.
Love is not like appreciating each other and valuing each other and wanting to see each other grow.
Nope.
Love is...
What do you do for me?
What can I do to make you feel good so you won't hurt me?
Yeah.
And
it's sad because
so sad.
You exist a lot of times where, if it's just like you are somebody that fulfills the role that somebody else needs you to. And even if that person's like, well, okay, wait, I want to hear you, but first, can you do this for me? And typically we're like, sure, but then that person now feels better. And then you still feel like unseen or unloved. And at the top of this self-love deficit disorder, he says you become a selfless, compulsive caretaker who habitually attempts to control others into loving them. So that is what he's replacing codependency with. It's self-love deficit disorder. But, you ready for some hope?
But.
Here we go. Self-love abundance. So the way to heal from this is self-love abundance, and it's a similar pyramid if you go to selfloverecovery.com. So now we got to heal that attachment wounds, like what you're talking about. Get into that subconscious, recognize that you are at your core as a child deserved to be loved unconditionally, period. Your job was not to manage the emotions of your parent. Mm-hmm. Your job was not to try to figure out how do I show up in this situation so to not get in trouble. Because now all of a sudden I'm learning to read a room. My mirror neurons are heightened. I'm so concerned that I might do it wrong when all I'm doing is being a kid. Mm-hmm. So that's like a lot.
I feel like you deserve love, but also like you don't need love either. I feel like that's like another thing that you have to realize.
Yeah,
it's like you don't need it to feel comfortable.
Because
whatever version of love that is for you, mm-hmm. whether it's like a good version or a bad version, you don't need it. Like and you can give it to yourself.
So then that went, and yes, and so then when we get up, you start healing that attachment wounds as a child. You realize, okay, and this can look different as you start to process this with as your therapist. Then sometimes people will say, you know what, I know my parents did their best. It wasn't great, but they only knew what they knew. or it's like, man, I'm really angry. Like I wish that they needed to have done better. So either, I mean, it's your experience. Who am I to tell you, no, they were trying, champ. You know, it's like, no, I don't know what that. So, but then once you get there, then the next step up on this self-love abundance pyramid is I am lovable because I am. I don't have to work at being loved. That's exactly, I think, what you were saying. And then that helps you start to become comfortable in your own skin, freedom to live as an imperfect but worthy and lovable person. So when somebody is upset because you didn't do this, or you dropped this, or you broke this, or you whatever, then it's like, totally I did. Like, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody is.
So what?
So what? Yeah, right? And then up from that, what's that?
Pick it up.
Pick it up, yeah. And then, so here, and this is the part I dig so much about the self-love abundance pyramid. So after you've dealt with some of that childhood wounding, it's like, man, I deserve to have felt loved. It shouldn't have been transactional. I didn't need to manage my parents' emotions. I wasn't a little emotional support animal. And then, so I'm lovable, right? That's like inherent. So then I can be imperfect, but I'm still lovable. And then next up on there is mutual reciprocal relationships. Because here, imagine a world where, you know, self-love and self-respect and self-care, then you are going to find the same from others. Because if I'm comfortable, then the person that's trying to control me, that's the part where it's like, I don't even know what if they're trying to tell me what to do or how I'm supposed to think or feel, like who do they think they are? Mm-hmm. But if you're that self-love deficit, then you're like, wait, what should I do? What do I need to do to get you to love me? Like, there's the difference, you know? Mm-hmm. And so then the top one is self-love abundance, serenity and acceptance about one's place in the world. I'm just being and doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Do it.
Do it. Be it. Do it. I hear what Eliana's saying. We don't need love from others. And I think where you were going with that is, I mean, we
you can give it to yourself. Yeah,
we do. We are so desperate to get somebody else to love us. Look on your head. We're so desperate to get love from somebody else that we're trying to figure out, how do I show up so that somebody will love me? And if I come from a place of self-love, now I can offer love to somebody. You know, I am choosable, so now I am choosing you. So now we can have a mutually reciprocal relationship and have shared experiences, and I'm not trying to control or manipulate or coerce or get validation. I'm just being, and I'm inviting this person to come along with me.
And more of what I meant is, I feel like when I was younger and I didn't have like any self-love at all, mm-hmm. that's when I would always be like looking for it from other people, and like I always wanted a boyfriend, and I was always mad if he wasn't calling me pretty, you know? Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't until I like really loved myself that I could like come to an acceptance. Like, of course I need love, you know, but I don't need it from these random guys, you know? Like, I don't, like, I have my family and I have like my friends, you know, like, you don't need it from a partner.
And it's a tough one to understand. If right now you're saying, well, yeah, but I mean, I hear you. And this is where I do feel like sometimes we got to say, okay, I don't know what I don't know. So I have to be willing to sit with a little discomfort and try to really self-confront. And by the way, Eliana, so thank you for the question. I think it's awesome. And then gardeningtool.jpg says, but hyper-independence isn't good either. Absolutely. And sometimes we go hyper-independent almost because I'm going to swing the pendulum really far over. Look at that thing. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Eliana. That was you. So that part, then it's, okay, hyper-independence is almost like I'm trying, and then all of a sudden I got to go completely over this other direction, be hyper-independent. And then that is where it's like, I'm going to make sure that I am doing my own thing, forget everybody else. So I get that one too. And then
I've probably gotten close to being too hyper-independent. I feel like I've like edged onto that. Yeah. But you're right. We need love.
Well, and then Mary Stegers, but humans are wired for connection still. Absolutely. And this is, man, those questions are perfect and they're great questions, because then when we're doing it in a way that I'm still trying to figure out a way for somebody to see me, for somebody to love me, how should I do it? I have to be able to do it. I have to be able to just be myself. And then that is connection. And that's the part that when I'm working with couples, and I think I always say on podcasts, I think I'm at 1,600 couples over the last 17, 18 years. I get to see that when people, we don't know what we don't know, we don't have the tools from the factory, and when we learn how to communicate more effectively, then we can have that connection. And that's again, there's a codependent, you know, if you're okay, I'm okay. There's independent, where it's like, I'm fine. And then there's interdependent, where it's like, I'm good, you're good, now let's go through life together. And that's an amazing place to be.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
A+.
Yeah. Let's see. Are you recording a podcast episode? I'd love to listen to this again.
I have an idea, okay? Because clearly I can't upload all the past ones fast enough. So I'm going to edit this one that's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put it up, like, in 2 days. Or I'll try to get it tomorrow, but I feel like it will probably be the next day. And then, if I have time, I'll do, like, the ones from the past. But I want to, like, get caught up.
Yeah.
So because I feel bad. I'm like, we're posting re-uploads from 2 months ago. So this one will be uploaded. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay. Yes, and that's
Virtual Couch.
The Virtual Couch. And I don't know if you even knew this, but so I do an episode of the Virtual Couch every week, and I do an episode of Waking Up to Narcissism every week. And I've been taking our old TikTok, and I've been running them as a bonus episode on the Virtual Couch at the end of the week.
Okay, so then there's some there too.
Yeah, I've done 2 so far, but it is funny because as I go through and edit a little bit of them, we've improved.
No. So it's
the
one I'm editing right
yeah.
now, I literally have not finished it because it is so brutal to watch myself.
Yeah. So I kind of want to go and start with some of these as well.
This one's fine, so I feel like we can put this one up, but no one proceed, please.
You pronounced my name correctly. Okay, and I'm not
That's
always
a really
the best.
pretty name.
It really is. Let's see, Marky, any advice on how to start doing instead of waiting till a better day? Oh, that's good, Marky. Do you get that one? Because I'm sitting there, we just got to be doing and being instead of waiting till a better day. Because that is one of my favorite books on the type of therapy I love, acceptance and commitment therapy, is by a guy named Russ Harris, and it's called The Confidence Gap. And what that concept is the confidence gap is this natural tendency we have to say, when I feel confident, then I'm going to do whatever it is that's new. But that goes back to, but when am I going to know what that is? When am I going to know I've got enough confidence? In reality, I have to do in order to feel confident. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of things. One of the first things is that if you are, and I dig this one, we talk about this one a lot, if you're doing things because you think you're supposed to, and but you really don't want to, it's called a socially compliant goal. Like, I guess I should do this. And if I don't really want to do it, then I'm going to do other things instead. It's called experiential avoidance. I'm going to answer emails. I'm going to play this game. I'm going to watch another episode of...
I love doing that. Temptation Island and Love is Blind.
Yeah. And then after this, then I'm going to do this thing, but that I don't even really want to do. Like, that's the problem. So one of the best things is to really start to figure out what your values are, what matters to you, and they're going to be different than the values that your parents tried to bestow upon you or your community or that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then once you start finding out what your values are, then you can start doing. That's a key. If you don't know what your values are, or you don't know what to do, I really do tell my clients, just start doing anything. I mean, just start going, interacting. Walk outside, and now I realize I like outside. I don't like too hot of sunshine. I don't like bugs. I like bugs. I mean, I don't actually. But then you have to do in order to then know if I like it or don't. And here's another one for subscribers to the live thingy, not the live, our account. I have a values exercise list that I use in sessions that I will send you if you subscribe, and we'll answer your questions personally.
Do it. No.
Look at that, right? You guys need to make clips from these lives, and thank you. And that is where I've been noticing most of the clips on the TikTok account are from the lives, right?
Literally, like all of them. Yeah. There will be clips on TikTok.
Okay, and I dig that. I do Single Mom Side Hustle. Waking Up to Narcissism podcast has helped me so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That one, super quick rundown, is that we talk about narcissistic personality disorder. You hear narcissism thrown around all the time, but narcissistic personality disorder is like 3 to 4% of the population. But we throw it around like it's about 80%. You know, everybody's ex is a narcissist, everybody's boss is a narcissist, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so...
Maybe they're just a little dumb.
Or emotionally immature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so early on in that one, I decided I went down this path of, I think we are all emotionally immature until we're not. So then the Waking Up to Narcissism podcast I'm trying to really introduce the concepts around what emotional immaturity is like. And that's when we don't want to take ownership of things, and we don't want to sit with any discomfort, and we're not curious about other people's experiences, and it's like kind of a little bit selfish, and we just want things our way. That's emotional immaturity. Grandiose narcissist is like, I'm amazing and wonderful all the time. And then covert or vulnerable narcissist is, I'm going to like kind of manipulate to get my way. And yeah, but emotional immaturity is, I don't know, I don't want to have to take ownership or deal with things, or little bit different.
It's like, it's changeable.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, emotional
you can
maturity.
Change.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, like everyone is. Because like you said, like we don't have the tools. No one ever, the tools to like know how to be a good person.
No,
like
it's
not
sad.
everyone knows,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like a lot of people have really crappy parents who don't teach them anything.
Yeah. And then I go back to, I know we said it a little while ago, but I'm not shocked. I mean, if you grew up with an emotionally mature narcissistic family system, how on earth would you know what a healthy relationship is? You wouldn't. So you have to go find it, and the way you find it sometimes is to have to watch these TikToks or go to therapy or that
and
sort of
that's
thing.
like the mind F for me. Is I just feel so bad for anyone in that situation, because if you think that's love, like that just sucks. Like if you think that that's like the best feeling in the world, and it's just you like basically enslaving yourself to someone.
Yeah.
It's just like, don't believe that. Nope.
That's right. That is bad.
You deserve better than that.
Any advice for an undergrad psych student looking to get into the therapy field?
I have some great advice for you, actually.
What?
I don't. I'm just kidding.
Do it, Catherine. It is a very rewarding career. I will say, okay, here's what's fascinating to me, I think, is I think one of the reasons why you have to get these 3,000 hours as an intern is you kind of just have to get your reps in. You see almost every type of client, and you're dealing with a lot of different things. And then you do start to recognize that there's a joke that you become a therapist to work on your own stuff. And I was like, not me. Until then, I totally realized that I'm working on all my own stuff.
You therapied yourself?
Yeah, kind of did.
Good. You should.
I think
that'd be more concerning if you didn't.
Yeah. Advice for someone too anxious and exhausted to find a therapist for the first time. So, RGD2. That is an adorable, lovable story that your brain is telling you. If it can hook you, it's called cognitive fusion. If it can hook you to the old, I'm too exhausted to find a therapist story, then guess what you're probably not going to do?
Find a therapist.
Yeah.
I ghosted mine as well, so it's a safe space for this.
But I'm not trying to make you feel, I'm just saying that is such a good question. It's such a normal thing. So here's the deal with, this is the way our adorable brains work, is that you might hear this tonight and you're like, you know what? I need to get a therapist. And you literally get a little bump of dopamine. And you're like, yeah. And then you wake up tomorrow or even tonight, and here come the yeah buts. Yeah, but I don't even know.
Therapy is cool and all, but have you tried eating a quarter block of cheese?
What kind of cheese? Because I am not a fan of some of those, like the real dry, crumbly cheese, the ones that kind of smell like feet. So I would argue. Do you really?
No,
I don't like those kind. Yeah.
Sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying? That was good. Explain. Sorry.
I forgot.
Advice for someone who's too anxious or exhausted to find a therapist.
Yeah. Okay. So we say, all right, I'm gonna become a therapist. Or no. I'm gonna go to therapy. Dopamine bump, yeah. But then all of a sudden the brain's like, whoa, slow your roll. Like I don't know what that's all about. So now it comes up with the yeah buts. Yeah, but what if I find a crummy one? Or yeah, but what if they just want to take my money? Or yeah, but what if they don't keep confidentiality?
Or
and
what
you
if
come
they
with
judge
all of them.
me? I feel like a lot of people say that.
Yeah, and especially if you've never been, then those are stories your brain is trying to get you to connect or hook to. Because if it does, then you're not going to go to therapy. So, and this is, okay, we haven't done this one in a while. Because your brain it's wild because it's so smart and cool, except for when it's not, because it is a don't get killed device, and it works off of a flawed premise that it has a finite amount of electrical activity. So everything needs to, yes.
So it works off the idea that you have like a certain amount of energy you can go through. Yeah. So it thinks that.
That's the belief. So,
you just said that in a very smart way. I had to dumb it down for myself.
No, it's good. So because this is why we form habits. There's a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, a little walnut-sized part in the brain. So when you do something over and over again, then your brain's like, I think we know what we're doing. And so then it will then put it into this habit center. And so, if you're doing like a good old functional brain scan, you got somebody tying their shoes, there's like a little bit of electrical activity in the brain. But if you got somebody learning how to play the piano, there's a lot of electrical activity in the brain. So if the brain's a don't get killed device and it's trying to conserve energy, then it's like, do you really want to play the piano? And so, but
it wants to be comfortable.
Yeah, it wants to be comfortable. And because that's what it knows, so then if you try to do something new, it's going to throw up all these, I call them the yeah buts. And eventually you have to recognize, and I even have a book back there that says it. It's kind of crazy. It says you are not your brain, which is kind of deep because it is your brain. But one of the most powerful things you can do is recognize that if your brain, bless its little, literally pink squishy heart right here, if you just recognize it means well, because it's saying that if you go do these new things, you might run out of electrical activity and die. So why don't you do it later? You know, that's like, you know, I don't know if I want to do that, or I'll do it later. So at some point you have to recognize those are thoughts, and they are thoughts, and we have lots of them. So I'm actually going to invite this bad boy, this brain, to go along with me while I start doing things. And your brain will throw up a bunch of yeah buts more while you do it. But then eventually, if you do it enough, then at that point, what does your brain do? Kind of habitualizes it. So then it's like, okay, we're cool with this, but don't go crazy. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like if the fear is like that you're gonna go to the therapy appointment and like be super anxious or like not know what to say, then like that can be what happens, and like it's totally okay.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
that, I mean, like that's okay in any situation if you freeze and don't know what to say, but especially at therapy, like that's a safe space.
It's so safe.
You can totally be like anxious around them and stuff. And when they said they were like exhausted, do you have any like good, like if I literally was gonna get therapy right now, like is there like a website? Like what is the vibe?
Yeah, actually there is. No,
know?
Sid, that's a good. I'm glad. I was looking up. I saw one question in there that's like, I think someone's trying to get really deep, and it's really something we've talked about before. Where like we don't even know if we exist, and it's that thing called solipsism.
We don't.
We don't. Actually, we don't. I may be the only one that exists, and you are animated when I come into your
I'm the only one existing.
Or you are.
You guys are all fake.
Yeah. So when
Sorry.
you came into the building, then all of a sudden I'm real. You know, that kind of thing. But that's a cool
What
concept.
were
Okay,
we
so wait,
talking about?
yeah, because it was good. It's so if somebody wants therapy and they've never done it before, and I understand cost is an issue as well. So if you have insurance, a lot of insurances are starting to pay for therapy, so you can look for that. You can also then Google like low cost therapy near me, and there's a lot of nonprofits that will give you a sliding scale, which means that if you don't make a lot of money, they won't charge a lot of money. And it's an opportunity to start doing therapy. Or I think kind of the go-to is Psychology Today. Pretty much all therapists have a profile on Psychology Today. And that will give you a little bit of a background on what they're about. Oh, it's 9:20. So we've gone an hour and 35 minutes.
Nice job.
Gotta wrap it up.
We just got 300 people in here. Do a trick. Do a
Okay,
backflip.
okay, all right,
Do
all right,
a
okay.
flip,
Okay,
Tony.
I can juggle.
You actually can juggle.
Yeah, I'll juggle these brains. Okay. You have to say something smart, though. Oh, I haven't done this in a while. Okay.
I already told you guys everything that I did today. I used a coupon. I saved a ladybug from Target.
It's been a busy day.
Yeah. No, it's been a crazy busy day. And I was late somehow. I'm not going to be late next time.
Oh, okay. Look at that, Mackie. Well done. Pinning a comment. Sarah, best type of therapy to heal for a narcissistic family system. It's really tough because, so there is a type of therapy called family systems therapy, which I would not recommend, because if you even dare get the narcissist in, then they're going to then end up using that against you. They're going to try to gaslight. They're going to try to manipulate the therapist. So that's one where I would really look for somebody that has experience with personality disorders and emotional immaturity. And it's funny because when I said earlier that you can go to Psychology Today and look on that profile and you can find things out about people, a lot of times when you put your profile together, there's these check boxes and it says, do you work with? And so you have a tendency to check all these things that you do, but you really need to reach out to the therapist if you're there to deal with emotional immaturity or personality disorders, because it really is it's a bit of a specialty. So that's the best way, is to find somebody that does know more of what they're talking about with that. And if somebody just says, oh yeah, I work with personality disorders, it's so okay for you to say, well, tell me how you would handle a narcissistic family system, somebody that's been in a narcissistic family system. And if they're, I was going to say, okay,
That was great.
Why
did you stop? No, I'm not.
Well, I stopped because I was about to start attacking or criticizing fellow therapists, and not that it's fine, but
Rip
then I was,
them to shreds,
but I was
Tony.
about to say the stuff where if somebody immediately starts, if they start in on the, well, how do you know they're a narcissist? Then don't go to that person, because you need somebody that's going to hear you and meet you where you're at. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Like that's one where, I just think it's...
Yeah, because if that is your reality and like you feel like you're being hurt,
then start there.
Why are we dancing around?
Yeah, and so
I get what you're saying.
I took a new client recently, and they had gone to somebody, they'd been there 3 sessions, and the person, it turns out, was in a horrible narcissistic relationship and trauma bond and all this stuff. But this other therapist, and I know them, but they just said after like 2 or 3 sessions, the therapist said, look, you need to make a decision. Are you in or out of the relationship? And I was like, really? And anyway, it kills me. Okay. Oh, why is a psychologist answering a metaphysical question such as, do we exist? Isn't that philosophy? I am a multi-trick pony. And here's why. Because solipsism and this is really actually kind of a cool thing, because I did an episode called When You Care Too Much About What Other People Think on the Virtual Couch podcast. And this is why I think this stuff is so cool. You are not the center of the universe. When we try to understand and imagine the vastness of the universe, we begin to understand the insignificance of ourselves. So far, it sounds like a great motivational speech, right? I'm kidding. We may experience ourselves as the center of it because we see it exclusively through our eyes, but most of the world would agree that we are not the center of the universe. But of course, we never know. So there's a concept called Solipsism, which is the idea that only your mind or my mind is the only thing that we know is sure to exist, because I can't prove the external world, meaning the minds of other people, is real. So to this day, somebody can't experience the existence of somebody else's mind other than my own. So, and here we go. Let's go a little psychology. So if your mind is the only one in existence, then other people's opinions are illusions. They don't matter. So that means there is not anything to discuss because other people's opinions are not real. But even though that could be true, it seems to be kind of a consensus that other people do exist. Like, I think you do. And so if that's the case, then other people's opinions are real. But if all people have minds comparable to our own and are as immersed in our own troubles as we are ours, then they're probably not thinking about us as much as we think that they are. So most people are so busy concerning themselves with what other people think that they don't even have time to really take a good look at the people that they're trying to impress. Philosophy.
Imagine if we went through our entire lives and found out that everyone around you was fake and that you were just having all that anxiety for no reason. Imagine if that's what ended up happening. Oh. So I feel like for fun,
yes.
We should just pretend like that's how it is, because then you can just do whatever you want.
I mean, honestly, that there is a type of, there's a concept around therapy where that is a type where it is this acceptance that what if, fill in the blank. It's like whatever it is that helps me interact with myself and my environment better. And so if some people have to say, yeah, I don't even know if you're real.
You're all fake.
Yeah, because then that allows me to then just continue to just, if somebody's like, well, I think you need to do this. It's like, I don't even know if you're real.
Here's my even more hippie version of that, how I talk myself out of social anxiety. I feel like I believe that the thing that's we're all a collective consciousness, and everyone is you, just living life in a different timeline or with a different experience. So how I see it is
Wait, so yes.
I can't be embarrassed by any of you guys because you're just me in a different life,
Okay, that is probably a good way to end it. Because there is a...
Do you think I'm insane?
No, I don't even know. I know that I sent this to somebody. I'm trying to think of who I sent this to. I know who I did. There's an article that just came out recently that I geeked out on so hard, and I don't think anybody else really...
No, everyone thinks I'm insane when I say this in my real life, but I kind of believe it. I don't know. It's I don't know. Maybe it's too hippy-dippy, but I feel like sometimes I'll say it and it makes sense for a second.
Yeah, okay. Look at this article I just pulled up. Scientists believe they've unlocked consciousness and it connects to the entire universe. What if consciousness was just a simple quantum wave that can interact with everything that's ever existed? And if you want to go super crazy deep...
I didn't even hear what you just said. What did you say?
So there's a concept called quantum consciousness that scientists have... they used to discard this theory, but it's so nerdy and boring, but it's so cool as well. There's a thing called quantum coherence. So then it's you have these... anyway...
What?
Maybe we're all one collective consciousness. I really think this stuff is really fascinating.
Wait, keep talking.
Do you want to hear it for real?
Yes.
Okay, so do you want
Stop doing that.
Do you know what photosynthesis is?
Yeah.
What?
The plants are eating the sun or something.
Yeah, okay, that's close enough. That's close enough. Okay, so photosynthesis, plants use chlorophyll, and it's a process that stores energy from a photon, which is a quantum particle of light. Okay, so this quantum particle of light goes into this photon that's storing this energy, or chlorophyll stores this energy. So then the light hits the plant and it causes the formation of something, and scientists need to do a little better job here. They call it an exciton, like excited, which carries energy to where it's stored in the plant's reaction center. So to get there though, and I love this example, it says it has to navigate structures in the plant, sort of like navigating an unfamiliar neighborhood en route to a dentist appointment, or maybe you're dropping off some Doordash.
Inside joke.
Is there anything to say about
You're
that?
on the outside.
Has anybody ever been fired from Doordash that you ever heard of?
That's a sensitive topic, Tony, and you know that.
Okay. Okay, but
I
then,
got fired from Doordash.
Right. Okay, but so this whole photosynthesis thing is where all of a sudden this energy goes to the plant. It travels all.
So have I.
Okay. It's how okay, right? So then the energy goes throughout the plant all at once, simultaneously, and it's this thing called superposition. So new evidence suggests that there's these things called microtubules in your brain, and that they're even better than chlorophyll at maintaining this thing called quantum coherence. So then what that means is that you can shine this light into this microtubule in your brain, sort of like a photon, and then if the light lasted long enough, then it would indicate this quantum coherence, which means that basically it would be that it can be this thing where everything is all at once. It's as big as it needs to be, and it fills all spaces, and it just is. So we are all connected through this quantum consciousness.
That's cool.
Well, and then
I like kind of followed. I fell off at the end.
Okay, well, there's also I do this stuff. There's also another guy, and I've got this somewhere where this researcher has spent 40 years looking at like near death experience and that sort of thing. And he had this concept where he said that if somebody loses their hearing, are the audio waves, do they no longer exist? No, they're like you. They're still sound. Still do, and if somebody loses their sight, then does the visual spectrum, is it gone? No. So like your eyes are in essence filtering the visual spectrum, and your ears are filtering the audio spectrum. So then his belief then is that so the brain is filtering consciousness. So then if the brain does not exist, does consciousness, is it gone? So I mean he's making a leap there. I know, isn't that wild? Anyway, okay. That
brain is exploding.
Yeah.
And I'm confused actually now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody. Subscribe, and we will answer your questions personally. I will give you a values worksheet thing. And what else will we do? Nothing. Okay. Or probably other stuff. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks, everybody, for real. What a joy. That goes fast. I so dig doing that with you. That's fun, Syd. This is a good solving all the world's problems. Where are your Hello Kitty pants from? Somebody asked. We didn't fight. I thrifted them, but they're really, really big, like huge. So I like put a drawstring through them. I feel really... How'd you do that? I feel very DIY. You just stick it through and then like pull it. Oh. I don't know how to describe things. Okay. Tell the Doordash story. There are so many stories. Okay, what? I still remember I had a client of mine that they were doing Doordash. That was their job, and they were going through a tough time, and so they were telling me about their percentage or their rating, and it was like 100 or 99. And I texted you. Do you remember this? I texted you in the session. I handwrote a text because I was like, "Hey Syd, what's your Doordash rating or whatever?" And what was you remember? Oh my God, I don't know. Was it percentages? It was like 17%. It was a little bit low. Instead, I was like, oh, okay. And they did not like me there. Yeah. And then eventually, what happened? You got fired. They literally just booted me, bro. They booted me. And then I tried to do Uber Eats, and it's like I'm on a blacklist or something because they won't let me in. It's like they know. But what did you do to get fired? Nothing. Well, I would eat the food sometimes. Other than that, I mean, nothing. What, are you kidding me? Yeah, come on. Listen, you put a hot plate of fries in front of me, you think I'm not going to eat one fry? Yeah, single mom side hustle. I don't do that anymore. Where can I find the article? It's a Popular Mechanics article, and if you shoot me an email at contact@tonyoverbay.com, I will send that back to you. Yeah. All right, thanks, everybody. That means they probably got complaints of people like people probably like, she ate my food. Who was that? That's crazy. It is crazy. I mean. Okay, bye, you guys. It's getting personal. Good night, everybody. We'll see you later. What, this weekend? We'll do another one? Sometime. I'll put a little thingy up. You can see. Okay, and then you said you're going to get this one in 2 days on the Virtual Couch YouTube channel. Okay. Check it out. All right. Hey, we made the Creator League, whatever that is. Yeah, bro. Okay. All right. Have a great week, everybody. Good night, besties. Talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye. And...